Hi folks, I'm going to show you some very nice and beautifully transparent crystals of calcite which belong to the collection ancienne of the École Polytechnique, where we are. We are in the library of the École Polytechnique, and we have at the École Polytechnique some large and transparent crystals of calcite, and you know that they are biréfringent, which means that when the light of ray goes through a crystal, it will go on the other part doubled. And with these large crystals, we can see them beautifully. These crystals probably come from Iceland, the country where Erasmus Bartholin first got them, maybe larger, still larger than these ones. This one is about 17 centimeters high. Bartholin said he had crystals 1 cubic foot, but this probably comes from Iceland too. And we are going to do more than just observing biréfringence, as Bartholin did. We are going to observe biréfringence, which means to quadruple light of ray thanks to two such crystals. Putting them one on top of the other, we will see that a light of ray is doubled when correctly oriented with respect to the crystal, and if I put the second crystal on top of it and I turn it, you will see that one way the two rays are more or less reunified, and the two rays can be doubled again so that we will see a quadruple ray. I call it biréfringence. So Erasmus Bartholin was from Denmark. He got these crystals from Iceland, which belonged to Denmark at that time. And Erasmus Bartholin, as a professor of physics and medicine, was very proud of getting these crystals from the north of Europe. It was just after the terrible 30-year war, and Denmark had been beaten by Sweden, so that when Erasmus Bartholin got crystals showing a new effect, he was very proud of it. And he said to those who can see, I'm going to show them that light in the northern countries, that light is enhanced. And I think he had in mind the fact that Nicolas Steno, who used to be his brother's pupil, and under the name of Niels Stensen came south to Paris and even to Firenze when he came to be known as Nicolas Steno. And Nicolas Steno wrote a book on crystals and geology in Italy, and Erasmus Bartholin published at the same time a book on his experiments on biréfringence, and he was proud to have been able to make it not in Italy, but in his own country. So biréfringence is due to Erasmus Bartholin. It means doubling of a ray, of a light ray. And calcite is especially biréfringent in the visible region for light rays. Jean Picard, a French academician from the French Academy in Paris, immediately visited Erasmus Bartholin in Copenhagen in Denmark, and that was in 1970, and Erasmus Bartholin published a memoir. You have the first page, you will see that on slides, and you will see summaries of the dates and the names of separate slides, so don't be afraid with all these names and dates. So that memoir was published in Latin in 1669. Jean Picard came to visit Erasmus Bartholin in Copenhagen in 1670, and he brought back large crystals, probably not these ones, but he brought back large crystals which he gave to Christian Huygens. Christian Huygens is a Dutch scientist who was working in Paris and who also belonged to the French Academy of Science. And Christian Huygens immediately made his own experiments with these crystals, and what he did on top of what Erasmus Bartholin had already done was to use two crystals on top of one of the other. And that's what we are going to show, not only biréfringence, but the possibility of biréfringence or quadruple refringence thanks to two crystals correctly oriented one on top of the other. When I put one on top of the other, one will see that one can enhance the separation when they are oriented one way. One can reduce the separation when they are oriented exactly the other way. And for in-between orientations, we will see that the image is doubly doubled, which means quadrupled. And that's what one can do with these large crystals. One will also see what Huygens could not know, that light going out of one crystal is polarized. At the beginning, the light just coming from the sheet of paper is not polarized. Here I have glasses which are polarized, what you can use when you want to see a movie in 3D, for instance. And we will see that turning the glass one way or the other, one of the ray disappears or the other. And when I put the second crystal, we will see that they are also polarized. Of course, Christian Huygens did not know that, neither did Erasmus Bartholin, nor Isaac Newton in England. And its polarization is a complex effect. It can be mathematized thanks to Maxwell equations, and actually it involves quantum mechanics, because calcite is made of atoms. It's a complicated structure. It's made of calcium, carbon, and oxygen. And the atomic structure is complicated. In the international tables of crystallography, you have to go to number 167 to see the space group structure of calcite. Light, on the other hand, is also complicated. Newton and Huygens didn't know exactly the nature of light. Huygens thought it was made of waves. Newton thought that it was made of particles. And they also didn't know about the exact atomic structure of calcite. But Huygens thought that it was made of waves. We now know that light is made of waves, and that light can be polarized. At the beginning, light from natural light has all orientations and propagates. It propagates in all orientations. If you polarize it through a glass, only one polarization will be selected. What a crystal of calcite does is to separate all the orientations between one ray which has one orientation and the other ray which has exactly the other orientation. And with several polarizers, you can kill one of the two rays. And what is miraculous is that with two glasses oriented at 45 degrees, you can resuscitate a component you had killed. This can be drawn with vectors, and you project vectors in different directions. But if you try to think of it in a classical manner with rays, you cannot understand it. And the final explanation, which is not an explanation, it is quantum mechanics. It's a quantum mechanical effect. So that a state of light can be killed, but still be half alive and can be resuscitated thanks to two polarizers which will be oriented at 45 degrees, for instance. And that's something which happens when you put two crystals on top of the other. And that's what Christian Huygens observed. That's also what he could not explain. And he said, I observed that, but here, he said it in French, I have no explanation. And the explanation can only come with quantum mechanics, using Maxwell equations, but it's a quantum mechanical effect. So, again, for the atomic structure of calcite, you will see it on one of the slides. It comes into play in the sense that if the light does not go in the good direction, it will not be doubled. So some axes of the atomic structures do the birefractions, some other axes do not do the double reflection. So you have a real interplay between light, which is not polarized but may get polarized, and the crystallographic structure, which is made of atoms. So it's not something easy to understand, but it's something fascinating to observe. And it's very nice here to have these large crystals which can really convince you that there is a strong birefringence effect that you can double as birefringence. And that should invite you to go back to textbooks or to open a textbook, reread the equations which quantify the effect. It's not an explanation because I told you it's quantum mechanical, but it can quantify the effect. And I thank you very much for your attention.